The Indiana Fever should have been basking in the glow of their first playoff win in nearly a decade. The players should have been the story. Lexie Hull's game-saving steal, Kelsey Mitchell's clutch scoring, and Aaliyah Boston proving why she's the centerpiece of this franchise. But instead, the headlines were hijacked by something entirely different. An ugly, unnecessary confrontation between Sophie Cunningham and a league-hired security guard. What should have been a night of pure celebration got overshadowed by the WNBA's own inability to stay out of its players' way. Sophie, clearly not game-ready with her bulky leg brace, wasn't storming the court, wasn't starting anything, wasn't a threat. She was standing at midcourt, waiting to check on Odyssey Sims, who had gone down hard. Anyone with a shred of common sense would have understood the situation, but not the security guard. He decided to flex authority, barking at Sophie as if she had just rushed the floor in the middle of a brawl. The camera caught everything, Sophie's face shifting from puzzled to annoyed to the infamous Cunningham glare. That glare alone told the world, really? This is what you're doing right now? Fans exploded online. Within minutes, clips of the incident went viral. Twitter lit up with outrage, Instagram flooded with memes, YouTube packed with breakdowns. Not because Sophie overreacted, she didn't. She stood her ground, calm but defiant, refusing to let herself be bullied. The outrage was because everyone could see how unnecessary the confrontation was. This wasn't protection. This was harassment. It felt less like security and more like intimidation, and fans were quick to call it out. What made it worse was the pattern. Sophie has been cast as the WNBA's villain for years, painted as the instigator, the problem child, the one who doesn't fit the narrative. She's outspoken, unapologetic, and refuses to play the league's safe PR game. Instead of being celebrated for her energy, marketability, and passionate play, she's often treated as a liability. And in this moment, leg brace and all, she was treated like a threat for simply being there for her team. Fans saw right through it. Hashtags like #DearArmFreeSophie and #WNBA Exposed started trending within hours. And here's where things get ugly for the league. Because if Angel Reese or Paige Buckers had been in Sophie's shoes, the narrative would have been spun completely differently. Their passion would have been praised. Their leadership would have been celebrated. But with Sophie, she's painted as defiant, problematic, or disruptive. That double standard is impossible to ignore, and fans aren't ignoring it anymore. They're furious, and not just at the security guard. They're pointing their fingers higher, at the league, at Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, at the entire system that keeps showing favoritism for certain players while marginalizing others. What should have been a night remembered for Lexie Hull's brilliant anticipation on the final play, or Kelsey Mitchell's first-half takeover, or Aaliyah Boston's steady dominance, has instead turned into another example of how the WNBA keeps stepping on its own storylines. The Fever pulled off a gutsy playoff win with half their roster injured, including Caitlin Clark, Chloe Bibby, Sydney Colson, and Sophie herself. They weren't supposed to win. They weren't supposed to even be competitive. And yet they did it. That should have been the narrative. Instead, all anyone can talk about is Sophie Cunningham being confronted by a rent-a-cop. The irony is that Sophie's defiance, the very thing the league seems to resent, is what makes her so beloved by fans. She didn't back down. She didn't cower. She didn't feed the drama either. She just stood firm and made it clear she wouldn't be pushed around. Fans ate it up, flooding her socials with messages of support. Sophie became the hero of the night, not because of anything she did on the stat sheet, but because she represented exactly what so many people feel about the league. They're tired of the selective enforcement, the double standards, and the way certain players get protected while others are hung out to dry. This isn't just about Sophie. It's about the WNBA's ongoing credibility problem. Caitlin Clark has been hacked and shoved since her rookie debut, with referees swallowing their whistles while the league shrugs. Lexie Hull pulls off one of the most clutch steals in playoff history, and league media barely mentions her. Now Sophie, visibly injured, gets shouted down during a celebration, and the story becomes about her instead of the team's win. It's not just unfair, it's malpractice. And it's why so many fans accuse the league of being unserious. Sophie herself handled it perfectly. Instead of ranting or lashing out, she brushed it off with humor. In her post-game comments, she joked about sweating through her clothes from nerves, admitting she felt like she had played despite never leaving the sideline. And in typical Sophie fashion, she added a jab. The league is so mad that we won because we're literally not supposed to be here at all. and that just kind of fuels our fire even more. It was vintage Cunningham, lighthearted, sharp, and defiant all at once, and that's why Sophie remains such a lightning rod. The WNBA can try to minimize her, but every time they do, her fan base only grows louder. She's the underdog who refuses to be silenced, and in today's sports culture, that's exactly what fans want. The more the league singles her out, the bigger her legend becomes. What they see as a problem, fans see as authenticity. What they frame as disruption, fans frame as passion. And that's why clips of Sophie clashing with a security guard will rack up more views than any sanitized highlight package the WNBA tries to push. The bigger issue is what this does to the league's growth. The Fever's playoff run should be a marketing dream. Even without Caitlin Clark, this team is pulling in massive attention. They're young, resilient, and dramatic on the court. But instead of highlighting that, the league allowed another fiasco to steal the headlines. Casual fans, many of them new, many pulled in by Clark's star power, aren't walking away impressed. They're walking away convinced the WNBA is more circus than competition. And that perception is deadly for a league that claims it wants mainstream respect. At the end of the day, Sophie Cunningham was wronged. She wasn't storming the court, she wasn't starting anything, and she certainly wasn't a threat. She was a teammate, injured and braced, standing in support of Odyssey Sims, and for that, she got treated like a criminal. The league can spin it all they want, but the people already decided. Sophie was right, and the WNBA looks ridiculous. Once again, the basketball got overshadowed by the nonsense. So the question now is simple. Will the league learn from this, or will it continue doubling down on selective enforcement and empty PR spin? Because the fans aren't letting it go. The hashtags, the memes, the outrage, they're not dying down. They're growing. And every time the WNBA fumbles a moment like this, their credibility shrinks. Do you think Sophie Cunningham was singled out unfairly? Was this just one overzealous guard, or is it part of a bigger pattern of the WNBA mishandling players who don't fit their preferred image? Drop your thoughts in the comments.